Hey there, ladies and gentlemen. This is class notes number 8 of December 15th already, almost Christmas. This time I filmed a little more of our warm-up, starting with joint rotations. I always start from the feet up, starting with the ankles, then knee circles. Then I add those low squats here. I put my ankles really close together, my knees touching, and then I try to sit down on my calves. Before we added this variation here where you don't have the support of your hands and just you try to lower your body until your glutes touch the calf muscle. Before we went into some long lunges, purposefully going as low as possible and as far as possible forward with our knees. This is an exercise which is taken from the knees over toes guy and his program, which I find really beneficial for warming up before Bagua classes. So we have been introducing these exercises over the past 2 weeks to the group. So we will slowly build from here, only 10 repetitions for each of those exercises per leg, as well as this long lunge here where you place your front foot on your heel and your back foot on the balls of your foot, which is also which we also just introduced last week. So we will build on that over the next couple of weeks. From here we went into some side-to-side stretching of kind of a side lunge position. I always start very gentle by just shifting the weight from one foot to the other, keeping my weight almost fully on the hands, so my legs and hips can move freely, which I find is necessary in an evening class after mostly a long day of sitting for most people in class. And then we usually add some sort of lower side lunge squatting here, also just 8 to 10 repetitions, only one set per leg. As mentioned before, we will build on that over the next couple of weeks. So after that, everyone's prepared for the Xiantian Bagua Zhang practice, aka the palm changes. And as per usual, we start with a single palm change, the most important palm change of all, moving through it in a step-by-step fashion to make sure everybody's hitting the positions in the correct way. So after that, it's the snake again. You've seen that in the previous weeks. And we've practiced this for, I think it's the 5th week now that we've been focusing on the snake smooth body palm, and everyone in class is getting much more precise on everything. So I've talked about it in Berlin, where I held a workshop this past weekend, that we usually spend like 4 to 5 weeks when we learn a new movement pattern, and we learn it first, or we practice it in a very robotic way, so to say. It's step-by-step practice, because each and every position of those palm changes and those circular motions have their pit stops. They all have their anchor points where you have to understand the right alignment of the body, the right structure of the body. And once you're familiar with that, you can weave the postures together and connect it to a continuous movement. So just last week, we spent some more time practicing the dragon palm change that you just saw. From here on, after about 15 minutes of circle walking, I didn't film this, we came back to the exercise of standing, right? We did the regular Uji stance here, where we always try to align our body towards gravity from the feet up to the crown of our heads. So by aligning our toes with the knees, with the hip joints, we then want to tilt our hip slightly, so to reduce the tension in the hip flexor area as well as the area of the lower back. Then we lengthen our spine with the image of having a helium balloon attached to the Bagua point, the highest point at the crown of your head, which is lifting us upwards gently. At the same time, through this lift, we can feel a small tuck of the chin and our spine gets lengthened. This is one of the most, or if not the most important internal cue that we work with. And here in this standing exercise, I talked everyone through the next step, which is the sinking or letting go of tension. And we start this from the crown of our head down to the feet. So starting from the facial muscles, from the forehead, the jaw, then the neck and the shoulders, relaxing through the arms, down through the hands, and also your upper body, your torso, your chest, your ribs, your belly area, and then releasing tension further down through the hips, the thighs, through the calves, and through the feet into the ground. So first we start off with a lengthening. This is from the feet up, and then we try to release all the tension from head down to the feet and into the ground. So that's basic alignment. We are aligned towards gravity in a straight line. After that, we go to the next internal cue, which is the expansion. Super important, and a big change in quality of all your movement can be seen if you practice this internal cue diligently. And in order to practice the quality of expansion, you could do it just standing like so, but I prefer to practice it in the regular Bao Taiji posture, or the posture which is generally recognized as the Zhan position, where you hold both hands in front of your chest. You will see that I'm going to lift my arms in the next step here. But super important first to lengthen the spine and then release all the tension in your body without breaking your internal alignment. That's super important. So you want to release as much tension as possible, but you definitely want to keep your alignment on point, your spine long, and the rest of your body completely relaxed. So after 20 minutes, it was 15 minutes of circle walking, we added this 5 minutes here of standing in Zhan. So this is where I lift my arms, where I hold my hands in front of my chest, where I slightly turn my elbows down towards the ground, but I want to keep a circle with my hands in front of my body. There is a slight tension, like from a fresh rubber band in my hands. So there is tension in the hands. It's not a weak posture, but a rather strong one. And the space, you can feel the space between your hands with an imaginary rubber band again. Yeah, this is standing exercises in Zhan. I think we will talk about this in more detail in later class notes. We then, from the standing exercise, we went into the basic stepping patterns. So that's the banbu, the half stepping, which is super important for almost all of our applications and really the basis of everything we do later. So this is banbu stepping, where you basically push into your back leg, you lift the front leg, and when you open the structure and you stop again, then you close the structure. We then went into the practice of the so-called qixingbu, which is the 7-star stepping in our school, where you step in a zigzag fashion through the room, where you put the weight on your front leg, then shift the weight forward to the balls of your foot, and then pivot around the balls of your foot. With the goal to always, after each turn, end in a hip-wide stance. This is really important. It's not a 虚步. There is a little bit of weight on your front leg, on the balls of your foot. And the practice here, what the most important cue here is that you rotate really fast without isolating your hips and shoulders with the turn, so they stay connected, and that after the turn, you always want to end up in a hip-wide stance, strong enough to immediately push forward again. So it's a very active step with an interesting way of shifting the weight, of pivoting around the balls of your foot, and then after the motion, you want to end up in a really strong and stable position. Of course, this should be hip-wide stance and yeah, not crisscrossed. So one of the applications of this step, of course, is coming from the clinch position when you exit the clinch in a safe manner, and then you step from the center line of your opponent into a 45-degree angle. If I do this correctly and I end up in a hip-wide stance here, I can immediately use the pressure in my back leg to step forward, push into my opponent from a side angle, and come to any form of single leg takedown, as just shown. Another good example of this stepping, the Xing bu, is really from the clinch position again, when you step out with your left foot here, and then you use your right hand to pull, and your right leg as well. So that's the same stepping pattern. But again, more on this when we talk about the details of the clinch work. We then connected the stepping pattern to our very, very basic methods to cover distance and to get in touch with our opponent. So from a distance where we have no contact with our partner, we want to step forward in order to make contact. So this is the sanpashou, the three times stepping hand, so to say. So you grab the wrist of your partner's hand, you connect to the elbow, and then you step forward with the banbu we just practiced, and just put the hand in front of his face in order to get connection to his hands. The next thing, after the practice, something important to say is that you shouldn't get like too detailed and too strict about your own practice. But what's important in this first stage is that you become really, really confident about the basic patterns. So it's 3 steps: grabbing, controlling the elbow, stepping forward. And usually once you're used to the hand motion, you get a better awareness of your feet and your stepping pattern. And really, if you see other people or yourself getting like all tensed up in this kind of practice, you want to lose up again and just keep it really, really playful in the beginning, because in the end, you need a lot of repetitions. That's just a fact. So you need to bring in thousands of reps until you're very familiar with the pattern. And it's very normal that not each step is perfect, especially when we have our partner move around. We can first move around by ourselves just a little bit to change angles, but have the same pattern going on in our hands, and we have our partner move around, and then we have our partner attacking us. So it's the same pattern over and over again, but coming from different angles. It looks really sloppy, it is, and it has to be in this phase of learning. So the next entry method is coming from the inside. It's chopping. So you put the hand away from the center line before you step in, and you strike forward with the outside of your forearm here, and with the goal to arrive at your opponent's neck. But as in this practice, of course, your partner will just put up his hands, so you can practice the entry method just like so. And again, make it sloppy on purpose without, I mean, sloppy, not really, but make it really loose and almost joyful, right? Don't overthink it for now. Practice it a lot, and after a while you will understand the coordinations better and things will fall into place. Now, this is the third entry method, which is both hands from the outside as if you want to slap your partner in the face. So the goal here is not, and this is one of the biggest mistakes beginners do, is not to look for the hands of your partner. So you're not catching hands or catching flies here, like I demonstrate here. You're not looking for the hands. Your only goal is to really slap the face of your partner. So if you do that intentionally, he will lift his hands. Of course, he has to. He's a monkey, right? So lift up your hands, strike to his face, and then he will lift up his hands to protect his head. Very natural reaction. And from here, you just grab the wrists with your fingers, control just a little bit and just enough in order to pull his hands down again, and then move forward with another bitch slap, as they call it, right? So first, strike to the face. Once he lifts his arms, connect to the wrists, and then you have one hand moving down first. And then you move the hands outside, from the inside to the outside in a circular fashion, and striking again, just like so. This is like 1, 2, 3, and the fourth strike from my right hand here is just set up at this moment. Okay, we didn't practice this one. All right, so the next one, another entry method, is to step out of the way to the side. So something's coming in and I'm stepping out and then striking or slapping with the back of my hand. So stepping out, crossing my hands, and from here there's just a slap to the face of your partner. Again, you want his hand to come up to protect his face. It's not necessarily a devastating blow to the face. Well, of course, if he doesn't, it's quite painful, but the idea is just to create a reaction, break the structure, and obviously move into a better angle. Okay, from here, once you're on the side, you can decide to strike with more power, but the first move again is very, very gentle and quick. So after that, we continued with a nice partner exercise where one person is standing in the center and 3 people are attacking. And the first level of this exercise is that your partners will just attack with the same hand always and in straight lines only. This is very important, and you basically practice all the previous learned techniques that we've practiced in class, but the goal of this exercise is just to raise the bar just a little bit to increase the stress level, but it's still very cooperative, okay? But you can play this game in various degrees and make it very, very stressful in later weeks, okay? We're gonna add on this in the next week, and I hope you enjoyed this class session.